Everyone, I'm Jude Hotep. I'm the goddess astrologer and alchemical initiatrix. This is the full moon, Capricorn full moon video for this month. It is Cancer season. We're at the beginning of Cancer season with this Capricorn full moon. So we're talking about the Capricorn Cancer axes. And in part one, if you don't know, I channel the astrology, I channel from all over the universe, my higher self, my guides, bring messages through for those of you that tune in and that they feel are really important right now for the ability to step into 5D, step into greater and greater healing and awareness. Also, then in part two, I go into the sun sign horoscopes and I do the charts and the astrology for each sun sign, each sign, along with oracle card reading as well. And you can look at your rising sign, which is your natal chart, and your sun, which is your solar chart. Both give really great information and can help you understand and synthesize what this full moon is, how it's affecting you in your life, where it's affecting you in your life, and how best to catalyze the energies for expansion and growth and higher consciousness. So we're going to get into the chart for this full moon. This is Capricorn. Capricorn is an interesting sign because it really denotes the highest level of earthly ambition that we can traverse. So that top of the mountain, but it's the top of the earthly ambition. It's the top of the earthly mountain. And then we go into Aquarius and Pisces to go beyond into the spiritual realm. Capricorn is the sign of wisdom, having went through all of the other 9 signs and gained so much wisdom through experiencing life, through living life, not through knowing, not through a degree, not through some false authority dawned upon us by a certifying board or agency or a school or university. These things that keep us imprisoned in this world and keep us locked into these man-made ways of the third dimensional reality that keeps us from expanding and growing in our consciousness and really stepping out of the 3D way of being and stepping into that fifth dimensional way of being, where we have possibilities versus the probability of repeating the same shit over and over, and our ego really running things. Our ego runs things from the past. And so whenever your mind or whatever part of your being consciousness is looking to your past to see what decision you should make in the future, what choice, catch it, because that's your ego, and your ego lives from the past, and the past is probabilities, which is going to create the same shit that you've already lived, chewed gum, no flavor. To be in the fifth dimensional is to be connected to your higher self and have your higher self running the show. And so how can you marry the two? How can you let your higher self be in charge of your consciousness, of your being, of your decisions, of your choices, instead of your traumas and your wounds being in charge of your choices? Here's the thing. We don't want to repress or deny the shadow, the pain, loss, challenge, the things we experience, the past, and we want to heal those things. But we also want to hold 2 disparate things together simultaneously, which is Pisces, which is Neptune. And I'm going to get into why that's so important here in a moment, because Neptune is really important to this full moon in Capricorn. And there is a lot going on this summer. And so I'm going to bring you a show soon to really talk about the things going on this summer, because we have a Venus retrograde, we have the nodal axis changing, we have big things happening this summer, and we are having a square all year. So I'm going to go into that and look for that coming up on the channel. So subscribe, hit the bell, and then you'll be notified when that comes out. So this Neptune, like holding those 2 disparate things at the same time, you're holding like the pain and not holding it, but you understand it, you see it, you're not denying it, you're not repressing it. Repressing it causes it to have greater gravity and greater intensity. So when we don't heal and we keep stuffing it down and we go escape and watch TV or eat or go out with friends or just fill our life with so much activity and bustle and don't address it, then it grows in gravity and intensity, and maybe we come back lifetime after lifetime and keep cycling through it. Then holding the 5D, like stepping out, like choosing to know it's there, but choosing just to step out of it and be in this moment. And I just want you to think about the present moment in a really different way than you've ever heard the now talked about. The now moment, the present moment. Let's conceptualize it in a completely different, like, consciousness expanding way, because I think this is going to help so much. This really blew me open recently, of just this new way to conceptualize the present moment, of like, that is where my higher self has control, has the driver's seat. That's where I get to choose moment to moment possibilities that I haven't created before. That's where I get to choose something different, a different future, create a different outcome, a different result, and choose a different thing than what is most likely going to happen based on the momentum of the past, based on my ego stuck in those old neural pathways of not only thinking, but emotion and behavior and the momentum of all of that. And it's like, no, I just want to step out of that into this 5D and what's in this now moment. And let me just expand open to the possibility. I don't have to read a book. I don't have to do a meditation. I don't have to do anything special. I'm just like, literally, I'm willing it to be. And I just want you to encourage you to connect with that idea, conceptualize that, let it rattle around your consciousness and see what comes up for you around that, because it's really, we have to access something different. The same mind cannot create a different result, that the issue, the problem, or the 3D reality has been inhabited in. So let's go into the chart. And if you're getting anything out of these videos, if you're loving the sun sign horoscopes and that's all you watch, please like this video, because it really helps the metrics. It helps more people find great information that encourages them, uplifts them, supports them. I'm going to support you on your spiritual journey. Also, if you don't know, this is Light Goddess YouTube. This is the place to be. If you are an empowered woman wanting to rise up into your greatest income, revenue, visibility, reclaim your voice and your feminine energy to help humanity become liberated. So this is the place to be for that. And if you don't know a lot about me, I am a professional astrologer and I'm a subversive astrologer. And I'm also a master soul coach, been working with people for 10 plus years. And I've been a metaphysician for 34 years. And I've helped hundreds of women heal past life shadow, traumas, childhood wounds, all of the shit in the shadow and the 3D problems and issues, to make more money, increase their visibility, reclaim their feminine power, and step into their power, their voice, make more money, and make their wild, audacious dreams come true, along with making this big impact in the world, changing the world, having an impact and a ripple effect that changes the world for the better. So if you'd like to work with me, you can do that by choosing a pick your price astrology reading. This is a limited time opportunity. Take me up on this. I'm never going to offer astrology readings this low ever again, ever, ever, ever. So really take me up on this opportunity, because you get to pick your price. You can go to thegoddessastrologer.com. That's the THE goddess astrologer, not astrologist, astrologer.com. And you can pick your price. And when you click the banner at the top, you get to go choose your price, and then it'll take you right to my scheduling page where you get to schedule date and time that you choose. You'll join me on a Zoom call. I study charts beforehand. You get to ask me all the questions that you're wanting to understand in your chart, whether it's purpose, understanding your challenge and pain, like how do you evolve? How do you move forward? How do you step into that voice and visibility? Anything you want to ask, you just put it right in all of that detail and you fill that out. And then I go study your chart. We meet on Zoom. You get this intense, powerful, full reading, no matter how much you pay, and you'll get a recording emailed to you after. You'll get to see your chart right on the screen. We'll go over everything together. You can ask me questions live. Powerful, powerful, transformative experience. Move your life forward. Don't pass up this opportunity to choose a pick your price astrology reading with me. All right, y'all, let's get into the charts. So just something that I want to share with you to give this Capricorn full moon a little bit of a background. Let me share. Ugh, what are you doing? Okay, let me share this with you. And I just want you to realize that, like, what's the background? humanity is ascending from 3D to 5 dimension, 5th dimension. 3D is this world that is the old reality, the old paradigm, the dominator culture, the paradigm of competition, of unlove, all the depravity of humanity, all of the issues, the fighting, the war, people controlling humanity, small factions and groups, narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, controlling the rest of humanity, and humanity being under that. And we're moving into 5th dimension, a place of love, unity, consciousness, but unity through diversity, all of the diverse ways we can have relationships, all of the diverse ways we can have gender identity, all the diverse ways that we can think, feel, act, be, express. And moving into a unity as moving as one species, evolving, growing, changing, and being in our heart consciousness, heart and mind coherence, moving into a 5th-dimensional realm where we have that higher ability of our mind. We're moving from a mind ego dominant people to a emotion intuition dominant people. This is the time of the great healing where all of our shit's coming up, all of the shadows coming up. We're being provoked, we're being triggered, our buttons are being pushed just simply by driving, by going to the grocery store, by doing your regular daily life. You used to have to go to a mystery school to experience initiations like this so that you could ascend. You get to be in this time alive today. We infiltrated the patriarchy already. We infiltrated the dominator culture just by being born here as a way shower, as a world server, or as a star seed, here to bring light to humanity, to free and liberate humanity, to ascend to 5th-dimension, to facilitate humanity's ascension out of this gravity well of depravity, of domination, of control, of mind programming. And we're healing past life after past life after past life, so old timelines can collapse so that we can be free and liberated to create something new. We are also here for humanity's liberation, talked about that. This causes us to have our identity question, because our identity is usually associated with our ego, which is associated with what makes us feel secure, the past, all of the ways we've known how to be okay, usually maladaptive behaviors, responses, reactions, just trying to survive whatever soup of an environment, people, set and setting we found ourselves in. But that identity is one from the past, and we have to choose to be willing to be uncomfortable. And an example I'll give you is that today I was kind of expanding. I was doing some things that was expanding my consciousness. I could feel it happening right there, stepping into some greater frequency. And immediately I had this feeling of just wanting to go watch a movie, and there's this one movie I've been wanting to watch, and I just I knew it would pull me back down into that old 3D sinkhole. It's not that I won't watch it in the future, it's not that that won't be the right thing to do at some point, but I just barely was getting over the line at this moment, and I didn't want to go back down. And I said, no, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be here. I'm going to just explore this new phase where nothing feels familiar. I don't know what to do even. I'm just making it up as I go along. Again, what I was talking about being in the present, being in the now moment with a different conceptualization of it than you've heard in all this the spiritual collective ever before. Oh, this is where I have choice and possibility, rather than the probability that everything will be chewed gum, the same fucking thing you did yesterday and the day before and the day before. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of that. Are you tired of that? Let's come together, women rising together here in Light Goddess. Let's all rise together and come together and do this together, because our energy fields will all work together to help each other create this whole new expansive field, this whole new expansive energy vibration of all of us together, where it'll be easier for us as a collective together, as a Light Goddess collective. So raising our consciousness, this is what we're doing in humanity. And again, that means being uncomfortable, maybe not knowing what to do, having the structures removed. This is a Capricorn full moon, Capricorn structures, and it's ruled by Saturn in Pisces, which is no structures, boundaryless. It is against being restricted. It does not want to be restricted. It does not want to be limited. Pisces abhors limitation and restriction. However, structure is what allows creation to have a place in which to nourish and flourish and grow. Like the womb is feminine. Capricorn is a feminine sign. It's a yin sign. It's the womb where creation then happens. So we're going to talk about all of this. Healing past lives. So we're, like I talked about that, we're collapsing all these timelines where all of these past lives have been, you know, that we're dealing with all the wounds and the trauma and terror from that now. Like literally we can have terror from past lives coming up in these moments where it's provoked by something, you know, mundane, and we're just out in life driving or in the store or whatever, and it's actually from a past life where we were killed, or we were murdered, or we were captured, or we were held in captivity, or we were tortured. And it's coming up now, like as if it's so real, and you know it's not this life, but maybe you don't quite realize it's a past life. So we're healing this, and we're shining our light, which means stepping into our power, which is our power is such a vague term sometimes. It's like, what does this mean? You know, our power, shining our light, like what does that really mean? You know, our power is our time, who we give our time to, who gets access to us. That's power. Who gets access to you? You can be compassionate and loving without having people that have negative energy that's going to glom onto your bright light. The moths are attracted to the light, not have access to you. You know, you have to realize that there's these spiritual myths and bullshit that keep us down and from shining our light and letting our light reach so much further, so many more people, and uplift humanity in such a vaster way because of all this weird Virgo guilt and atonement. Virgo is that guilt and atonement and inadequacy. And it's that constant like thing. Virgo is about humility. So it means letting go of the guilt, stop feeling like you have to atone, don't be the masochist, and just realize that guilt does not allow, like it serves no purpose except to create humility if you don't know of humility. But unless you're a narcissist, you feel like I should have humility here. Here's an opportunity for humility. Maybe you don't conceptualize it consciously, but begin to. Like when you feel guilt, realize that this is a moment to create greater humility, which is a 5D principle. It is a principle of not being a sociopath, of having empathetic intelligence. It's a principle of being a loving person. It's a principle of not being depraved, not being a narcissist, of having a healed ego rather than a damaged ego. So realize guilt and shame as catalysts for humility, for higher love, for compassion. That doesn't mean somebody gets to have access to you. So your power is your time, your energy, your attention. It is your choice to, in this present moment, choose to be in the possibility. Let's get into the charts. For this one chart here. All right, July 3rd, 6:38 a.m. Monday is when this full moon is. So we'll be into July. I'm recording this Tuesday night. So you might see this Tuesday night, perhaps, or Wednesday, Thursday, and so on. So, excuse me. So this moon is happening on Monday. And so leading up to this full moon is this waxing moon. And so it's growing into the most light, the culmination, the peak of the light, when then it will begin to wane. And it is this like celebration. It is this ultimate expression. It's the ultimate yang, external expression, manifestation. So it's at 11 degrees, 18 minutes of Capricorn. Opposite, full moon is always opposition to us, to the sun, of the Cancer sun, the opposite polarity, the opposite sign. Cancer Capricorn axis is very much about the mother, father, masculine, feminine. And in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in summertime, we're at the beginning of summer. This is a new season. We've had solstice, we've had the beginning of summer, we've moved into Cancer season, and the sun's at 11 degrees. And it's conjunct Mercury, but Mercury's at 14 degrees. So it's separating conjunction to the sun. So it's not of the most importance of what's happening in this full moon. But this full moon is definitely opposite it, and the moon is moving to that 14 degree mark, and Mercury will keep buzzing by. And so in a way, they're in more of an applying opposition. So the moon opposite Mercury is important, whereas that Mercury conjunct the sun's less important in this full moon. And so that moon opposite Mercury, ruled by the moon in the opposite sign, Capricorn. And so it's just an even greater expression of masculine, feminine. And is the masculine within you having all the walls up and the protections up and the maladaptive behaviors to protect you, to protect your feminine, because your feminine didn't get a chance to grow, express its voice, was killed or captured or tortured in past life after past life. In this life, have you had narcissistic abusers? Have you had absolutely like been taken in with a cult? Have you had just absolute dark people torture you and depraved people abuse you? Like, what is it that you're dealing with? Like, to take those masculine walls down, how can your feminine feel safe? I just did a podcast episode on the Light Goddess podcast, and the link is below, called, I don't know, I can't remember the exact title, but something about being safe and secure in your feminine. And so this is an amazing episode. I really recommend that you check it out. And there's also an amazing episode called Unwavering Belief in Yourself. And I also have another episode called 2 Beliefs That Changed My Life. So check out those episodes by going to the link below. The Light Goddess podcast, and new episodes come out every Thursday. So I recommend that you subscribe to that. And the old episodes are not outdated. They have amazing, impactful information that can help you on your journey and to support you in making money as a woman, support you in claiming your voice and your visibility as a woman, support you in making a big impact, upgrading to the next level. So this feminine energy, because this Mercury is moving into that applying conjunction to Pluto's north node. If you see this little baby Pluto here, it's Pluto's north node in Cancer. Will be in Cancer for the rest of our lives. Everyone born at this time has Pluto's north node in Cancer at varying degrees. And this is discussing the 100,000 year period before the 6,500 year period of patriarchy and dominator culture. It's discussing the 100,000 year period of goddess culture times of equality between men and women, egalitarian life, fear nearly being eradicated, all of our modern technology, paved roads, architecture, indoor plumbing coming from that time. We have experienced peace on the earth before. We have experienced men and women living in equality. We've experienced technological advance. We don't have technological advance right now. We have all these gadgets that are poisoning us. We have technology that won't poison us, and it's being hidden from the people. So we have to realize that it's nothing to fear or worry about. Be awake and create the world in 5D. Like, choose possibility, choose a different choice moment to moment to moment. This Capricorn moon is about, Capricorn's about structures, form. It is about Capricorn gets a bad rap because it's distorted in our culture. So the ruler of this moon is Saturn, and Saturn's went retrograde, and Saturn's in Pisces. And Pisces is this expression of this imagination, dreaming, believing. It's also sensual freedom. Pisces is about sensual freedom. Pisces is about liberation, freedom from restriction, freedom from limitation. And it's not opposite structure. Structure allows us to be free from limitation because we can change the structures, because the structures itself is malleable. And this is where humanity has gotten into big problems, because we have had man-made rules come in, and we've set up cities and communities and cultures and ideas and said, we must live by these are truths. It's a shadow Sag. No, they're not true. Structure does not need to remain in place. It can be malleable. It can change. Structure should be based on wisdom, and wisdom is not only a Pisces feature, but also the experiential wisdom of life. And the earthly plane is a Capricorn feature, like the aged tree, right? That the wisdom of earth, of having lived life experience. It's different wisdom that you get from having a PhD and actually going out and living life and being out in the world, having millions of different types of experience with millions of different cultures and people and demographics and incomes and places and all of that. Really different experiences. One is this sheltered, structured, really locked in one paradigm, one narrow way of thinking and being and believing, and the other keeps expanding and adapting and growing to fit the changing landscape, constantly changing. And so what if we could combine them both together? So structure is not opposite the mutable, malleable Pisces that abhors restriction and limitation and is about freedom, the freedom of humanity, Saturn being humanity and society, and Pisces being the freedom of such. And then what's really important about this moon is that it's ruled by Neptune. So Neptune at 27 degrees is goes back to February. Saturn goes back to March 7th. So we're, Saturn and Pisces retrograde, restructuring everything from March 7th on. It's saying, hey, we healed a lot, we switched a lot, we're in a completely different energy. Now we're going to go and we're going to review it all, and we're going to restructure, and we're going to clear out. We're just going to take, what's a good metaphor for this? It's like, a tire where you put soap on it because you're trying to find if there's a hole in it. It's like the tire stays intact, but we're just going to find where the holes are, and we're going to seal them up. But obviously, let's not just seal a problem, you know what I'm saying? But it's a way to say, we're not going to, everything we did was valuable and useful and good, and that's not going away. But we're going to look for where we are limited and restricted, and how that is, and how we've created structures based upon the ego, based upon the third dimension, based upon the old ways of feeling safe and secure, the sun and Mercury, all in Cancer, about our safety and security, about our self-image, all based upon, are they based upon possibilities, the willingness to expand, the willingness to not know, to have the walls and the floor and the ceiling gone, and flow Pisces moment to moment to moment, because Saturn is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is at home, super strong. And Neptune stopped retrograde, super strong. Saturn is also slowed down, super strong. And this moon's ruled by Saturn. The dispositor of this moon is Saturn, and the dispositor of Saturn is Neptune. So this is a Neptune moon. And Capricorn stoic. So on one hand, the stoic moon will help us to come from a perspective that is not so going into the ego hurts and wounds and security. So it's like we have a better chance with Cancer season with actually utilizing and looking at in a more rational way, but with that possibility that I've been talking about of where are the structures that I made since March 7th, and where is my consciousness since February, Neptune, in places that are just the same, or based off the ego 3D, the past, the old, the chewed gum. Where is it trying to keep me limited, keep me safe, therefore limited? Safety is an illusion. And you know that these last 3 years, the Neptune media just completely programmed the status quo, everyone, and just completely constantly shoved that messaging into the collective about safety, safety, safety. Everyone, and talk to a customer service rep, oh, be safe. No, why don't you be imaginative, creative, wild, free? Why don't you be in the possibility? Why don't you be in 5D? Why don't you expand? Why don't you grow? Why don't you evolve? Why don't you heal? Why don't you awaken? Why don't you be happy, be joyful, be playful, be loving, be inspired, be uplifting, encouraging? Safety is not a question. It's not a question of safety. There's nothing to be unsafe from. Shit goes down. We're in the earthly plane, of course. Like, what? It's like expecting things not to happen in the earthly plane. It's emotion. It's like spiritual immaturity. That's what this is. Shit's gonna go down, and we most likely programmed it in as a soul for our evolution. So let's stop being spiritually immature and emotionally Cancer. Mercury and Cancer opposite this moon, emotionally immature. Let's be emotionally creative, inspiring, uplifting, directive. Capricorn and Cancer are directional. They are cardinal signs. They want to go in a direction. They want to charge off. Capricorn is a feminine sign. It's a yin sign. It's always thought about as a masculine sign. It's masculinized so much. Saturn is masculinized. Saturn is not masculine. Saturnia, goddess Saturnia. You have to realize that the planets were masculinized to conceal and hide the goddess, to conceal and hide the wisdom of the feminine that is within men and women. I'm not talking about gender identity. I'm talking about biological sex. 2 different things. Whatever gender identity you are, all is welcome here. Whether you're male or female biologically, sex-wise, the feminine is within you. And that suppression of the feminine has caused a very mediocre existence. As Lyra Kay said in the recent episode about chemical initiation, someone announced that. By the way, it's a new Thursday show here on Light Goddess YouTube. I interview amazing people that are doing revolutionary things, inspiring things, changing the world, amazing women, and very few men, some, but mostly women who are just absolutely having this massive impact in the world. And we're bringing like rabbit hole conversations where we're going deep into like rabbit holes. This is not your typical average show. This is not your typical show. It's called Alchemical Initiations, every Thursday, and the first episode is out. So go to Light Goddess YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be notified when the next episode comes out, and watch the episode with Lyra Kay, because she talks about how we've gotten this mediocre experience because the feminine has been restricted. We've seen what's happened. And this Pisces is also the feminine. And so everywhere we look, it's the feminine, the feminine, the feminine. It's not saying anti-man. It's not saying put men down. It's not saying men are bad. It's saying patriarchy, which is the domination by basically white men who are narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. 10% of the population, maybe 15, 20% of the population, very small faction of the population. And yes, there's women that are too, but I'm saying originally it was white men. That was like originally, we're talking, 5,000 years ago, 500 years ago, in our his story, where Hatshepsut, female pharaoh that had a diplomatic reign in Egypt for 25 years, the most abundance, the most diplomacy, the most democratic, the most equality ever in Egypt. And it's nearly eradicated from his story. And no one even knows about it. And barely a woman knows about her own lineage as a woman and our history and what the feminine does. And the stories of the feminine overlap with male-female issues. They just overlap, they're intertwined, but realize that Pisces is the ability to hold two disparate thoughts. Pisces is wisdom. It's the end of the zodiac and it's the beginning, the alpha and omega. It's wisdom, and wisdom means lived life experience, which is Capricorn, the aged tree, the learned grandmother, the Iroquois, the council of grandmothers that said, no, you can't go to war. And if you want to go to war, you need to come to us. You need to wear a skirt and you need to have a corn husk that's empty so you can remember that the women and children are going to be left behind in famine while you go off and measure dicks. It's the wise counsel of grandmothers that understands that war begets war, that war doesn't ever solve the issue. And of course, those that want war in the world today perpetuate it on purpose. They don't want to stop it. They do it on purpose. It's the narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, those that would do you harm. And so we don't have to fear them, care about them, worry about it. We already infiltrated. Just do your work. Step into 5D, heal, awaken, align. Like, look at this Pisces and think about your structures since February and March. I will tell you, it's been a little challenging lately with Saturn having retrograded. And depending on if you have it in your chart, if you have it conjunct something or aspected to something in your chart, I'm doing pick your price astrology readings. Come and find all that out. But I definitely had some stuff going on. It's been challenging. That Gemini new moon was challenging. That week before it was challenging. It's been a challenging time with Saturn going retrograde. But here's the thing that I feel like this time going forward, we can really make a different choice to step into the 5D while seeing what we may need to work through and heal and work on simultaneously, holding two disparate things at once. Pisces, le paradox. Pisces is a paradox. It's the two opposite opposing things that we want simultaneously. We want to go have fun and play, but we also want to like lay in bed and read a book. We want to have sex with our partner and chill. And we want to go, out to eat and have brunch. We want to pet the dog and be at the house. And we also want to go to the lake and tube down the river. It's like lay paradox, holding two disparate things. It's okay. And that's the mark of wisdom because it's the truth. It's like the yin yang symbol where there's the little spot of black in the white one and the little spot of white in the black one. And it's the bad and the good and the good and the bad. And that, it's how are we going to be with the truth of all of that? So I just really got down to the hardcore of this full moon right away because I'm going to go into some other things and other videos coming out, and on my Patreon, you'll be able to get more. I don't have a lot going on there at the moment, but I'm going to be putting a lot of information out there that I won't put here, and it's $5, so it's a no-brainer, but I'm going to be adding more content to come. And right now, I just want you to hear about like the most important things that my guides and that spirit really wanted to bring through. It's just that what really wanted to come through is understanding this masculine feminine dynamic that's going on, but within yourself, and not fighting out in the world, stepping out of all of the drama and trauma while seeing it, but stepping into the now moment to make a decision from your higher self, from the fifth dimension, and making that connection to your higher self. And a great way to do it is just to ask low risk questions all throughout the day and listen to it when your higher self answers. Don't ask predictive questions, and don't ask questions if you don't want an answer that's not the one you want. So for example, like, should I turn left or right? If you don't have any skin in the game and you don't care, ask the question and then do what your higher self says, because it's acting upon your higher self's good information that sees around curves, where the ego's like, oh no, this is the way that feels safe and comfortable and familiar. But it's, again, the chewed gum. It's the old probabilities of creating the same fucking thing that we created already and already lived. We don't want that anymore. How do you step in to the next level of expansion, joy, higher consciousness, creation, making an impact in the world, revenue, connection, self-intimacy with yourself, pleasure, joy. Something about this that's really important is that Mercury has a square, an applying square to Chiron. And this is so important because, like I said, it feels like things are a little tough right now, but only depending on where our orientation is. So we have to change our orientation, and it will shift how this energy feels. So when it feels tough, think about where your orientation is, because that's where the issue is, because it's ruled by Neptune, higher consciousness, higher love, Pisces, not being restricted and limited anymore. So this moon is saying, where are you restricted? Where have you agreed to be restricted and limited? Because that feels Cancer, familiar, safe, comfortable. It means like we have to actually shift our self-identity, because Cancer, fourth house, the moon, is all about our self-identity, which is all wrapped up in what we know already. And past life after past life after past life, ego structure after ego structure we created for our soul to live out all the past incarnations. So how can I be uncomfortable, not know? Like what is the problem for you? Is it Sag, where it's like not knowing, not being the one that has the answer? Is that the hard thing for you? Is it like Gemini and not just being flighty, or not like talking? Or is it Leo and it's like not performing, not being the center of attention? Is it Libra and not just overthinking everything and debating? Is it Scorpio and not being, where it's like saying the opposite thing and hiding? Is it Taurus and maybe not doing leisure, or maybe not overworking? Is it Pisces and not escaping? What's your escape? Is your escape eating or scrolling or Netflixing or just bouncing around, or just filling your life with bustle that's meaningless? That could be a Gemini thing too. Is Capricorn just like staying isolated and working, which it's not that there's anything wrong with working, but it's like maybe you're not including joy and expansion and growth and other ideas and possibilities and exploring life and having fun. You can get a project done and have fun. Look at what it is for you. This applying square from Mercury at 14 degrees, Cancer, moving towards that 19-degree mark with Chiron. Chiron's the wounded healer. It's the centaur. It defies identification. It's the horse and the human. It is entertaining multiple possibilities to walk between the worlds, the two types of ways of being. Mercury walks between the worlds, gives us all this information. Mercury's a psychopomp. Mercury is a messenger of the goddess. Mercury can move between worlds. Mercury is more neutral. It's about the left and the right brain. It's about the intuition and our rational mind. And realizing that we have a square, meaning that there's obstacles to dealing with the wound, Chiron. And the wound is around our sovereignty, meaning like we aren't speaking up. We aren't speaking our voice, because that's Aries. Aries speaks its voice. It's assertive, it's confident, it's independent. It's thinking about its own purpose and its own mission and its own direction. It's taking action. And it's like, I got to do this thing. It's over here. It's like ready to go. And so with Chiron there, it's the autonomy of humanity speaking up. The light speaks up. So here's this thing about Aries, is that if you've never been assertive, it'll feel like aggression at first. but you have to be willing to let the pendulum swing between the extremes so you can find your assertiveness in there. You have to be willing to feel like you were aggressive and handle that feeling. Like I was too much. Oh shit, I went over the line, or I said too much, or I was angry, or I was, when you probably weren't. If you haven't been assertive, it just feels like it. Like you have to be willing to be in those swings so you can find where the heck the assertive point is. How do you do it if you've never done it, except by doing it and experiencing it and experimenting with it? Confidence might feel like arrogance if you've never really stood in this confident place and you're always looking to what the other person wants before you act, looking to what they have to say before you think you need to know what to say. A lot of people are doing that Libra where they're like waiting and waiting for the other person, and then they act, and then they say, and then they do, instead of you having your Aries, your own direction, view, purpose, mission, what you're doing, point to the moment. Aries has a point to what they're doing in the moment. They're not just like flying by the wind, like, oh, I wonder what this person's doing, and we'll see what they do, and then maybe I'll know what I want to do from that. That's not Aries. So with the square to Mercury, Mercury is perception, our ideas, our communication, our understanding, all of that. And opposite this moon, like, well, shit, what are the obstacles? The obstacles are Cancer type stuff. Wanting to feel safe and secure and comfortable and familiar and cozy. And so we like buddy up in the group with other people so we feel safe, so we don't have to deal with that feeling of discomfort of feeling insecure because we think we look like a fool, or we think we look stupid, or we think we are dumb, or we think we're different from everyone, or we think everybody's making fun of us, or we think went too far, or whatever it is. Does that make sense of what obstacles we are facing with this moon? Of removing the structure, Saturn, the forms, the organizations, the ideas. Ideas are forms that keep us running in certain lines, coloring in between certain lines. Ideas keep us coloring inside certain lines, keeps us behaving within certain boxes. Ideas are like what we base our values off of. You don't have to have beliefs to know your direction, your purpose, to know what's right and wrong, to do good in the world. You don't have to have any beliefs. And that's Pisces. Like, why am I going to restrict myself? So what ideas, what forms, in any form that they may take, whether it's an idea or it's literal tangible, a house, a home, I have to live in this state because of XYZ. What if you don't? What if you just, say, fuck it, and just be like, I'm just going to try it. I'm not happy here, because a lot of depression will come up if you're staying in old structures, Saturn, depression, Saturn, that are not allowing you, Pisces, to be free, to expand and evolve and grow, to be free. Pisces abhors restriction and limitation. And there's no imagination there. There's no freedom there. So at the highest level, this moon is about our highest expansion of freedom in all ways: consciousness, physical, tangible, energetic. Like, do you have energetic freedom? And yes, there are the squares to Pluto all year, to the nodes. Yes, we are at the 1 degree mark of the nodes. They change on the 18th of July. Yes, we have Venus in Leo conjunct Mars in Leo, and masculine, feminine, with trines to Chiron. So if we have this Cancer Capricorn axis about the masculine, feminine, Mars and Venus, masculine and feminine, hanging out, in Leo, the light, the heart, but the shadow being the unhealthy pride, the megalomania, sliding down the spiritual ladder into the third dimension. because you can be conscious, but not 5D and not ascending, and have your higher chakras on, but skipping the heart altogether, and completely psychic and conscious and doing all this supposed light work, but actually a dark mofo out there. And you have to be aware of this. That's why we must navigate this world from our intuition. Like, can you read energy and read a dark person from a light person? And do you listen to it when you get that information? That's why I'm really really gave you this exercise to start making that relationship with your higher self so real. Like, for 6 weeks, ask your higher self questions all throughout the day. What should I do? And then do it. And what this does, don't do predictive things, because that goes into your ego and activates your ego. And it's just an exercise, one of millions, but it's just an exercise to do with a very specific intention of, asking your higher self, should I get a chocolate milk? Should I go to the grocery store now? What should I do now? Should I turn right? Should I eat tacos? Should I have dinner? Should I go for this walk? And then listen to the answer and do what your higher self says to do. So in other words, if you know you want to go for a walk and you're not going to listen, if your higher self says, no, don't go for a walk right now, then don't ask it the question. Only ask it questions where you're willing to listen to the answer. And I've done this exercise where it's like, I thought I was going to get the answer I didn't want. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to do it, even though it's not the thing I really want to do. And then I got the answer I wanted anyway. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. So it's like I'm playing around with my willingness to listen to my higher self no matter what, because this is forming a bond and helping your ego to start to trust your higher self as the one that can guide you around the landmines, that can see around corners, and that can help you avoid greater pain, loss, struggle. And just a last piece of this, realize that as a woman, you may have intense anger coming up, Lilith and Leo, about shining your lights, being able to be visible in the world, have a voice in the world, reclaim your feminine, have your feminine take up space in this world and be safe to do so, whether it's just feeling, mental, energetic, or tangible, like, maybe you're getting an abuser out of your life. But this Lilith sacred rage practice, you can scream, put a timer on, scream, get the anger out. You can do a rage room. You can create your own rage room. You can break glass near a trash can, outside or near a dumpster. I have an exercise I teach in Light Goddess. The sacred rage practice is monumentally powerful to help you reclaim your empowerment back and realize that the sadness and the hurt could all be part of the anger and the rage and all mixed up together, and allow yourself to get it out. And because we have the opposition to Pluto from Lilith. And so Pluto, the wound, the trauma, in the sign of the patriarchy, Capricorn, in the sign of the old paradigm, Capricorn, in the sign of the old structures that are breaking down, in the sign of the toxic masculine, in the sign of the archaic warrior programming, in the sign of the industrial fascist, in the sign of the control and the domination, the domineering, and the unhealthy competition and the power over. So realize that could be coming up right now, and just take great loving, nurturing care for yourself. These are the important things that I really am meant to share this moon. I was really thinking about just what really wanted to come forward, and these were the important things. So if you'd like to book a pick your price astrology reading with me, you can go to thegoddessastrologer.com, and there's a banner at the top of the page. You click on it, go pay whatever you want. It'll take you to my scheduling page where you can book your time and day, and then we will see each other live on Zoom. You'll see your chart. I do work on it before you get there. And then we'll go in deep to all of your questions and this deep transformation and deeper self-love, and really looking at the gifts of the beautiful puzzle that you are. And then you'll get a recording afterwards. So, all right, y'all, please like this video. If you liked anything that you just heard, please go ahead and share it with a friend. Send it over to somebody that could really use this upliftment or this message, or that's going through a hard time, etc. Really appreciate that so much. And if you subscribe and hit the bell, you'll be notified when the episodes about chemical initiations come out every Thursday, and when the new moon and full moon videos come out each month. All right, I'm going to get into the sun sign horoscopes for everyone. Before I pull up the charts for the sun signs and go into it, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes. I've found this 13 years ago or something, but it's always been one of my favorite quotes. And I think it's really helpful for this moon. There's such an extravagance of life here, such a determined, fucking unlimited bounty of possibility. Hope bursts forth like tangled vines wrapping itself around. And then it goes on into the reading, but it's a quote by Donna Ball, and it's just so inspiring, and it touches something in the feminine. And something else that's such an amazing quote that I've always loved, and I forgot where it came from actually until recently. I just rediscovered that it came from Donna Ball as well. And it's, they knew how to recover from whatever life threw at them, and they wasted no time getting on with it. I hope these quotes can uplift you and serve you as you're moving through this week and this full moon and all of the intense energies that this could bring up, with the squares to Pluto and the square to Chiron, and the Lilith square to the South Node and opposite Pluto. So let's get into the sun signs. All right, y'all. Aries, Saturn and Neptune are in your 12th. This moon is in your 10th. Opposites to the sun in your 4th. Really in that true 4th house, 10th house axis, the axis of the Cancer Capricorn moon Saturn, and asking you about your career versus your self-identity. And are you staying in a self-identity that is really offering you something familiar and something that you are conflating with safety and security, yet isn't allowing you to expand and grow, because Saturn is in Pisces about freedom and freedom of expression, sensuality, imagination, and being without limitation. So it's really asking you, what is the past life shit that is holding you back? 12th house. What is your family life, emotional seascape that is stopping you and limiting you from wanting to expand and grow and to break down structures that aren't serving you anymore? Do you have the structures? You get to choose them. And are they like the womb that's allowing for this beautiful creation to nourish you, that you're nourishing to grow and bloom forth? Or is it a structure that's closing you in, keeping everything out, and keeping you small and shrunken and your light dimmed? And definitely with Chiron in your 1st house has a lot to do with your place in the world, and with this search for this mission, this who you are, that is something of purpose and meaning to you. Mars and Venus are traveling in your 5th, giving you 5th house questions, and Lilith could be bringing up anger around 5th house stuff, which is shining your light and being on stage and being seen in that symbiosis with people, you know, enjoying the gifts you bring to the world, and they love it, and that symbiosis. But also, you know, is it the the unhealthy ego and pride, or do you have no pride and healthy ego? Is it lacking? So this is really what this is dealing with for you. And let's pull some cards for you. All right, I've already shuffled. What wants to come through for Aries? All right, this came from doing the unicorn cards. Capricorn moon, the highest expression is the unicorn. And just like with Scorpio, the highest expression is the phoenix that rises from the ashes. With Capricorn, it is the unicorn, believe it or not. And freedom. So you got the card freedom, Aries. Talked about that in your astrology. You know, what's restricting you from freedom? Is it, you know, is it the whatever you feel is your comfort, security, and familiarity? That's where you're restricted, and you may not even be realizing it. What else wants to come forward from Aries? Help us understand what this freedom is about. How can you get more freedom? Okay, this card wants to come forward, and it is innocence. Okay. So it's saying to me, like, to be in your feminine, to be in that innocence, to be in that Leo, Mars and Venus in Leo, that childlike place, being in your heart, being in your feminine, the heart between the upper three chakras and the lower three. And what is not allowing for that innocence? Is it a naivete that then got manipulated and abused? Is it the naivete of just growing up and becoming an adult and maturing, Saturn? Is it feeling like you're feminine, like you have to have all these masculine walls up, or maladaptive protective walls because your feminine doesn't feel safe to take up space because you feel insecure when your feminine's by itself? It's okay to feel that. I just sent the email to everyone in Light Goddess about 4 steps to deal with that. What else wants to come forward for you, Aries? All right, this card wants to come forward. Past lives. So Neptune, Saturn, the ultimate dispositors of this full moon, are in 12. Past lives, completions, closing up old eras. And go into it. Do you have someone that you can work with in past lives? I do some energy work that I can sometimes get past lives. I know someone who's just wildly skilled at it. So you can get in touch with me or find someone and do your past life work. Open up the records, find out what's needing to be healed. So ultimately, freedom. There's this vulnerability of innocence and that childlike heart, being in the heart, being in your feminine. And how is she protected? And it's from healing past lives, and it's about past lives that you don't feel safe to do it. So that safety and security that may be keeping old structures in place that are actually limiting you from the freedom of expression and creation and imagination is past life stuff. So I hope that you can dig into that and ask for your higher self to bring through messages. Ask for understanding about next steps to take. Create something beautiful. Just paint. Pisces, Neptune, paint, flow, dance. Ask for your higher self to come through and move you. Ask for insights and channeling to come through. Chant. Put on some bhajans and chant. Don't get in water. Let the flow come. Partake in these activities. All right, Aries. Taurus. Full moon is in the 9th. Neptune and Saturn expositors are in the 11th. Sun's in your 3rd. Lilith in your 4th. So the anger with Lilith and all of that is going to be around home stuff. The creation of the imagination and what can be, and the structures that need to be broken down are around the 11th. So people, groups, friendships, how can you expand? Where have you been limited? Where have you just rejected that? This moon is in your ninth, all about expansion, all about higher truths that don't need belief systems, going beyond that. Your knowledge, your expertise, how you stand on a platform and express your expertise, express your authority and your knowledge, your truths that you're bringing through, your channeled information, your guidance for humanity, what you're using to liberate humanity with. And the third house of the mind, and if that mind has clarity, or if there's old issues of security with your mind, can you allow for there to be different ways that you thought before? Can you let go of old ways of thinking and not associate it with feeling secure, feeling familiar, and just let all that go for a little while? Experiment, be in the experiment with the 11th house, experiment, step into greater liberation and freedom. That Chiron's in the 12th, so past lives stuff coming up, completion stuff coming up, something that wants to complete and end. So endings may be coming with that Chiron and that square to Mercury. And that could be endings of internal orientations to the world, where you came from in your life. That could be a mental stance of how you saw things, how you came from things, and being so committed to that, moon in the ninth. And yet that is completely limiting you and blocking you and restricting you from expanding, restricting your consciousness, restricting you from greater expression and joy. 11th house is the ultimate serving of humanity, the sacred activist, being in the world, being seen, and something that is impersonal and higher than the earthly ambition. It's going beyond that, something that's now for humanity that has let go of the earthly ego and is serving something greater. It's the house of the starseed, the house of the world server, the house of the Aquarian age. And so it's like your ideas with this third house sun, Mercury, your ideas is what is limiting you and restricting you and blocking you. Beliefs. So there's real need to just be in the experiment, to explore, to let go of every way you thought about it before. Maybe you haven't been thinking about it right. And if you have, why are you so attached to ways of thinking? Can you let your ways of thinking and believing die away for something new to be born, and then let that cycle of death and rebirth constantly happen in your mind, so your consciousness can keep expanding and growing and exploring weird, wild possibilities of anything? Triple purple suns in the sky, and get up and and like your house is not your house and you're in a different house and you're like, I guess I moved. What is possible and wild? Like, go to the outer reaches of expansion. And with that 12th house Chiron and the beliefs, thoughts, thinking axes, male, feminine, the feminine, the maladaptive protections of your feminine energy. This is all about what you think and believe limiting you, and the wound, and thinking that you got it all understood about the wound and healing and all of this, when it's like, what if you can just step into a different orientation, experiment? You got the card passion. So there's this need for passion. Passion is like Aries, Scorpio, it's Pisces. It's dreaming, imagination. you know, think about the raging river, that Cancer cardinal, you know, water, like that waterfall or that raging river that's going through cliffs and short turns, and it's just cutting through the earth, this rock that's so solid, Capricorn, and it's so powerful and forceful and determined, and it's passionate about creating and going in this direction. Also freedom and possibility and what will be. What else do we need to know about this Taurus? Passion, it's just like such, it's like passion is the water boiling, you know, it's the heat that makes the water boil so that you can make the pasta, so that you can make the food. It's the energy to put yourself out there, to sell, to speak, to have visibility. It's the ability just to get up in the morning and keep going. It's the willpower. It's the solar plexus. But it's more than that. It's like this, the sacral and solar plexus. It's just like this like dream and imagination of Pisces, so in the possibility and that passion and fire to ignite it. And you got adventure. So, you know, if you have a money issue, how can you have adventure anyways? What's wild and free and adventurous? How can you make magic happen? What can you do if you have money? You know, like, how can you go get adventure? Because people think of adventure as like, oh, like I'm going to go on a safari trek. Adventure is whatever's thrilling, new, interesting, novel, and expansive and expressive to you. You know, an adventure could be like body painting naked. An adventure could be exploring a new area of town. An adventure could be going on a day where you just let your soul lead you all around town and go to different places and just try this and look at that and do that. You know, I've had such amazing soul days when I've done that. Adventure could be something wild, like flying to Hawaii and swimming with dolphins. You know, it could be taking a class or meeting a new person. And you have sanctuary. So there's just this like real need to it's like, I don't know, you got an interesting mix of cards where it's just like this, the sanctuary to recharge, but making sure you're having adventure and the passion. You need both of these to have the passion, to have the inspiration and the fire, to have the will. So really clear message, Taurus. Hope that helps you. Sending you lots of love. If you'd like to book a pick your price astrology reading, you can do that at thegoddessastrologer.com. It'll take you to the page to pick your price. Then it'll take you to the scheduling page to schedule a date and time, and you'll see me live on Zoom. You can ask all of the questions right in the form you fill out, and you'll get a recording after your reading. See you next video. All right, let's do this. Gemini. All right, Gemini, that moon is in that 8th house, 2nd house axis for you. And so security and comfort and familiarity, a desire to stay in this false idea of safety is all 2nd house stuff. So money, not spending money, shrinking financially, not expanding, not taking risks, thinking you don't have money when you have plenty of money. You know, I mean, for example, it's all in the way you think about it. You know, someone that has never had no money, but's never been rich and has assets and maybe an Airbnb and they have savings, but they think that their security is based on this job with constant money coming in. They don't even consider that they have more than so many people in the world and they have freedom financially that they are ignoring because of the way that they're looking at it. So, you know, how do you keep yourself in prisons and boxes and cages financially and survival and self-sufficiency? And Neptune, Saturn are in your 10th house, the dispositors of this moon. This moon is in the 8th house, sextile taxes, the occult, the spiritual connection to life, the magic, the intangible, invisible, energetic realms of mystery and possibility and creation and what you can create. The structures want to come down in that area of your life. And this 8th house is in between the celebration and completion of the 7th house and the expansion, then going out on the adventure and learning and shedding of ignorance of the 9th house. And so it's this transformation that heats up. And it's like, the butterfly is about so many things, but it's about that the butterfly is, hold on one second, I just got to fix this on my computer. Ugh, where are you at? There you go. Let me just fix this real quick, Gemini. There we go. All right, good. All right. All right. And the butterfly is about that the spirit never dies, right? It's about immortality. It becomes a completely different creature, metamorphoses. It's not even transmuted. It's a complete different creature. The walls of the caterpillar, the literal walls of the caterpillar become the wings of the butterfly. It's not like a caterpillar in between butterfly wings that just come from somewhere, the chrysalis. It's actually the walls of the caterpillar itself that become the wings of the butterfly. And it becomes a completely different creature, like Kafka's, what was Kafka's book? Metamorphosis, where he becomes like bug, in his bed. But it's like, it's this completely different creature. And it's saying that the spirit lives on, but it's this complete breaking down, into ash, like 8th house, ash, the fire, burned in the fire to ash, and the phoenix that rises from the ash. And so, are you resisting the complete transformation because you want to stay safe in 2nd house stuff, which is like food, possessions, money? It's the house of self-sufficiency, survival. So all of your ideas, all of your orientation inside yourself around all that. This is saying break down all those structures, and those structures and forms. Saturn structures and forms. Forms are thoughts, the way we think about it. We put ourselves into cages that are thought cages. The only thing keeping us in those cages and in those lines we color in between and in those boxes are our thoughts, our beliefs, the way we are orientated to it, not taking risks, not expanding. And so we have this dynamic of thinking it is so, and so then we keep doing the whole cycle. Or Cancer, the Sun and Mercury in Cancer in that 2nd house, thinking that's all safety. And so then we keep staying in it, and like to change that threatens our self-identity, which is conflated with safety. So Neptune, Pisces, like, where do you want to be unrestricted? And it's in business, it's in your expression in the world, your reputation, your legacy, how you're seen in the world, and what other people think of you. Can you not care about that? Not let that be a limiting structure imposing upon you some restriction and limitation because you're shrinking to that view, idea, admonition, or judgment or opinion of somebody else, or you're thinking that their idea or the way they would respond, and just playing it all out in your head, that air quality. Chiron in the 11th, a lot of the wounds are going to come from friendships with other people, groups, collaborations, people not seeing you, maybe not recognizing your talent, maybe you feeling like inferior and therefore assuming people are not seeing you, and then it being just this like this cycle that just keeps wrapping in on itself. Realize that this Lilith is in the 3rd, so a lot of anger and things in there around like all of the voices in your head, the voices that you think are happening about other people that you're just playing in your head that they didn't even say, or you're assuming. Or who cares? Just be independent of that. Can you be independent of others' opinion, admonition, judgment, opinion, ideas? who cares? And I'm not saying it's just an easy switch to turn off, but turn off the switch. Like, who cares? Like, what are you doing? What are you creating? What are you bringing? What are you healing within yourself? What deep work are you doing? What powerful work are you doing? What changing and helping and healing of humanity are you doing? You know, that sort of idea. This Leo in your third house, the heart related to the mind and how you see it all, and also like what's going on where you live, local environment. All right, Gemini. What wants to come through for Gemini? These cards are so accurate. Strength. But you see how dark the card is. And it's really suggestive of this strength has to overcome such great odds. This strength has to overcome such inner demons and such darkness of past lives and childhood wounds and the traumas and travails, and the strength coming from this place of like the black of the horse, also immovable, implacable, unflappable, solid within itself. Intuition, listening to that, Gemini, synthesizing like a Gemini does the important intuitive messages and information, and letting that lead. Like I've been talking about the higher self, building that strength of that relationship. What else wants to come forward for Gemini? What's that intuition about? There's just this need to get out of the mental aspect of the mind and cultivate that higher self intuition part of the mind. Gemini is both sides of the brain, and there's hope, and hope has two messages. There's the hope of the trust and possibility that the stepping stone will be there for your next step and your next step and your next step. Maybe it won't look like the way you would prefer it, want it, think you want it, the ego wants it, your ideal, you know, all this Pisces energy too with Neptune and Saturn and Pisces is idealization, which then our ego gets so attached to, and then we think it's all a disaster if it's not that way. And you know, hope, you have to be very careful with hope, because hope will lead people down really bad. Hope will make you do shit that because you're hoping for this result, and so you're coming from hope, and so you're doing way stuff that's against your intuition. So you know, you can't be blind with hope. I don't really even recommend or talk about hope too much, rarely, because people don't understand what hope really is. And people are like, I hope this works out. I hope he loves me. I'll get an abortion, so I hope that he'll keep me. Fucked up shit. Then you betray your own self. I knew a woman that did this. Like, hope makes you like, hope that this client will sign. So you go to a meeting you don't want to go to. You don't want to go to brunch. You don't want to get up that early. You don't want to go to this event, but you're hoping you'll get clients. You're hoping you'll make this friend. You're hoping the guy will like you. And so then you're doing things and you're not listening to your intuition and letting that be your strength. Let your intuition be your strength. And if you're going to deal with hope, if you're going to deal in hope, let hope be where, you know, it's a matter of like positive, optimistic trust that you'll always be okay, where it's like that butterfly, that caterpillar, where the spirit always lives on. It's that kind of thread. So I hope that makes sense. All right, Gemini. Cancer. Cancer, I figured out how to do it once and move my picture. Maybe I did that. I don't know. Anyways, we'll do that and see what happens, because I hate it that you can't see the wheel. Not that it's like very fucking big anyways. All right, Cancer, let's do this. So you're in that first house, seventh house axis with this Capricorn, Cancer, full moon. And, your security, safety, familiarity issues are related to the first house of identity, how people see me, your response to threat. Maybe you needed to respond to threat with violence or aggression because you're abused in the past, but now that's not serving you and it's making you look like you're unhinged, when really you could respond to threat by just changing frequencies, like jumping dimensions, like just moving out of the situation, leaving the situation. You don't need to fight. You can just leave, regulate your nervous system. First house things are also just about going out into the world and staking a claim in the world. And I am your identity, or who you are. It's also your ego. And so this is like very much wrapped up in like ego wounds and those ego perceptions, which is the past. And so looking to the past too much and trying to use the past to make decisions, which is not going to allow you to make decisions from your higher self, which can see around the corners. This full moon in your 7th is this completion, celebration. Something is finalized. Some big thing is completed, and it's the house of relationships, house of justice, and the house of celebration and completion before it moves on into the 8th, into a transformation before it goes out into the world. So it's this, these structures that have allowed for you to have creativity or have comfort, security, and safety. And now it's a time for a new beginning to come and a completion and ending. The dispositors are in this 9th house of the expansion, the ignorance being removed, because you expand and try on all different many perspectives and ideas, understanding truth, the many paths to truth. There's not one truth. There's truth. Truth is different every day, every minute. And it's based on context. And so it's like, what are all the structures and your belief systems that need to be broken down that are limiting you and holding you back, Pisces? They're restricting you and limiting you. Now, Pisces wants to be free from restriction and the imagination and the dream, and creating the dream and expanding consciousness. And what's holding you back from that is the belief systems and the relationships that perhaps make you feel safe and comfortable, but they're not allowing you to grow, and you can't be yourself, and you're not being your authentic self. And the wound is in that 10th house of business, career, how people see you, legacy, could be family lineage, etc. And that square to the first house, how you're seen. So your sense of identity, your ego, of feeling okay in the world, being able to go out into the world based on how people see you, when the lineage, legacy, that Lilith in the 2nd, money, survival, Maslow's hierarchy of needs stuff, material possessions, feeling good in your body image. There can be a lot of issues around that coming up, and related to relationships, related to injustices, whether that's abuse, how people have treated you, scorn, just society, the growing up in this world, etc. And so how can you release the structures of your belief systems that are no longer serving you and are limiting and restricting you? All right, what cards want to come up for Cancer? Card wants to come up for you, courage. All right, Cancer, the sun is in your sign. This is your season. Remember, with birthdays, that the month to 2 weeks before your birthday is a balsamic period, meaning that's a dark underworld time of darkness, not knowing what's going on, and it's the time of the highest suicide rates. So you pop out of that when your birthday comes. So realize that. And this full moon's opposite your sign, Pluto's opposite your sign, big energies, And so it's about courage. It's that Aries first house, and so it's like you have these first house courage issues going down with the sun there and Mercury there and Cancer there, and it's like, what lack of courage feels safe and familiar, but it's actually just not taking risks and not trying new things and not getting out there, not braving new relationships. And how can you be courageous to create a new version of that nurturing, loving energy? Receive. So it's being in the possibility to receive. Like, we have to be in the possibility of being our feminine. We have to be willing to not be the one in control, Capricorn. And in control again is one of those hope things. It's like illusory. It's just it's a fake, false concept and idea. Like, what are you really in control of ultimately? Like this moment right now where you can have possibility and choice and step over into the fifth dimension, step over into a different frequency, chant, dance, paint, draw, go get in nature, take a shower, bath, work, create something, put content out, do a social media post, write an email, let yourself receive. What's the energy of receiving? Have the courage to allow yourself to be given to. If you're the Pluto Virgo generation, you just won't accept help and won't ask for help. That's, humility. Face the humility of asking for help. Face the humility, because Virgo is all about humility. Instead of doing the guilt and atonement bullshit, just ask for help. That'll build your humility. You don't have to do it the hard way. Polarity. So being stuck in the polarity where it's always in the third dimension. It's always, good, bad, right, wrong. It's a limiting. And also the polarity is being able to hold two disparate thoughts, being able to hold the paradox, the Pisces paradox, which means you can receive, because you can be both helping someone else and being that Cancer energy of nurturing and loving and caring for, and also receive help and let others support and be in a community that's expansive and nurturing and everyone's giving. This card, it just, something keeps pinging. It's just it's really wanting you to explore what the issue is here for you. There's something about that. And it's the courage to receive, the courage to hold both truths as true, of that rage against, the negative to such a point where it doesn't allow for the positive. So, being with the polarity in a unified way of the paradox, which can allow you to receive. All right, Cancer. All right, Leo, this is the 12th house, 6th house axis for you with this full moon, Leo. And so that Capricorn's in your 6th house, the daily work. It's in that house of, humility and service and self-improvement and getting to some place of being solid within yourself with humility, service to humankind. And this Sun and Mercury in the 12th house, and this can be, holding to past life concepts and ideas that maybe you're not even aware of because it's past life, but it's hidden 12th house, but it makes you feel safe. It's familiar, it's comfortable. It's the old ego structures, the old identity. Look to your South Node to understand what that could be, and the house and sign. Look to your moon, and really in thinking that being in the dimensions and being in the ethers And in all of the psychic realms are your sense of security and safety and comfort when it's coming out into the tangible reality and grounding something in the real reality, creating something really in the real reality. And what are the structures you've created that are man-made or based on manipulations, based on using other people's resources, based on not doing for yourself and not acting from your own skill and talent and gifts, and using other people's resources and using black magic and manipulating, like always saying the opposite of what you really mean because you're scared, Scorpio, to actually own what you really want and what you really mean. Scorpio does that. And it's like Scorpio is actually power. It's powerful to stand in that Mars, ruler of Scorpio, assertion. This is what I want. This is what I mean. This is what I don't want. Instead of that Scorpio, like Pluto, like manipulation and backhanded undercurrents, all of that. There's this wanting to be free and unrestricted and no longer limited. And so where is the like false pride and the like wounded ego and the like wanting everyone to notice you and wanting everyone to come to you and approve of you and lift you up on a pedestal and to think you're great and all of that Leo stuff, shadow Leo stuff, that you're not just standing up in your power and your assertion and using the gifts and abilities and the magic to create something intangible, a reality that serves humanity's liberation and your own liberation as well. There's this imagination and creation in this 8th house about the spiritual realm and helping others. Chiron in your 9th house of being expert, standing in your expertise, traveling, expansion, expanding consciousness, shedding the beliefs. That Chiron square to Mercury is about the belief systems that you're holding on to that make you feel safe and secure, that are completely detrimental and keeping you bound up in structures that are keeping you in a loop and stuck. And that Lilith, is that first house of like identity, being seen, how you deal with threat, your purpose, your mission, like being in the world. And there just could be a lot of anger, rage, or sadnesses coming up around that to shed. And it'll really help you if you do that. All right, Leo, what wants to come forward for you? Compassion for yourself and for others. Possibility. So being in the possibility requires stepping into 3D, stepping out of the manipulation, stepping out of the, hurts, betrayed. That 8th house could also feel like, you're stuck in the loops of feeling betrayed, feeling emotionally betrayed, feeling emotionally abandoned, and stuck in those wounds of the Scorpio wounds and the Scorpio darkness. And again, like I talked about at the beginning of the video in part 1, like step into the 5th dimension while seeing it. Don't deny it, don't repress it, but step into the 5th dimension, into a place of possibility in this present moment. Have compassion for yourself. It's okay, I got you, like, hugging. There's somatic exercises you can do, like being there for yourself. How can you make sure to do that? And healer comes forward, all of that 12th house and 8th house stuff, the healer, the one that has the psychic gifts, the ability to see and help and heal and bring something really powerful to humanity. All right, Leo, step into that. Virgo. All right, Virgo, you're dealing with this 5th house, 11th house axis. So other people, friends, groups being accepted, how people see you being liked, all of that is what gives you this false sense of security, safety, comfort. And that's what, you have to be willing to let go of, to step into this highest expression of Capricorn, the unicorn. The dispositors being in your 7th house about relationships and breaking down the structures of relationships, which is, again, we're breaking down forms, we're breaking down structures. Pisces is breaking down all the boundaries, all the forms and structures. Saturn, ruled by Neptune, something higher love, higher consciousness at home in Pisces, saying that Pisces wants to be free. Pisces doesn't want to be limited and restricted. However, the restrictions and the limitations of a relationship might make you feel comfortable and safe when really they're stopping you from your expansion, your growth. And so you're just in this constant loop of trying to get that, trying to feel safe and good and thinking you are when you have it. But really, it's just this repetitive cycle, and it's the past lives, and the Lilith is here, and this like anger and sadness and repression, past lives. And then the wound, Chiron, is in the 8th house of never having that sacral power, never having that transformation, that metamorphosis into the true freedom and expression and bloom of possibility and consciousness and higher expansion and freedom that knows no boundaries, absolute expression of self. And there's this just ultimate need to stand on the podium of your power and your confidence, stand on stage, 5th house, to be in the romance, 5th house, to be in the self-possessed, the confidence, speaking, the like being unto yourself, the playfulness, the heart, but without the man-made structures, without the false structures, the false forms, the forms being the way you think and believe. And that Chiron in the 8th house, like deep intimate bonds that you merge with, that you think is safety and comfort, and you can't live without. And that could be expressing in many different ways. So this moon is really pushing you to the edge, Virgo. It's trying to offer you expansion if you're ready to take it. It's trying to offer you that ultimate Pisces wisdom and freedom and living life free flowing. It's your opposite energy. It's to you, the everything, like having a place and form and structure. It's not bad or wrong, but it's realizing that the Pisces must be in the Virgo and the Virgo must be in the Pisces. And so, maybe you're like, don't feel safe with being boundless and completely unrestricted sensual expression, but yet the Virgo has the Pisces, so it has it deep inside. So compassion to yourself, compassion to others, that Virgo judgment, always the guilt and atonement and feeling guilty because you didn't do the right thing, and then trying to atone for it, and so then you don't do the full expression of yourself, and that constant cycle, and the self-sacrificing of the Virgo, and the judgment of others, and the perfectionism. And Virgo is about perfecting, not perfection, and it doesn't exist. You're perfectly despondent, perfectly in the shadow, perfectly sad, perfectly wet, just got out of the shower. Discernment is a Virgo characteristic, but depending on if that's your sun or your rising, to a greater or lesser degree, you have that naturally. And in what conscious state is it? What evolved evolution is it in? And that discernment with this compassion is like, are you having that Virgo compassion where you're self-sacrificing and you're helping everybody else and you're people pleasing, and you're not, having discernment of I don't have to let this person have access to me, and I can have compassion for them at a distance. What else wants to come up? What else is this about? Let me get another card here, get a little bit more information. All right. Imagination, Pisces, so it's interesting. You got the card of Pisces, the card of Virgo, and you got this compassion about being in between the two worlds, you know, compassion for yourself about having to navigate and walk this and how it feels pulled apart, and how can you as a Virgo hold the paradox and not be so committed to it being this one way, and understand the edge of evolution is messy, and having the compassion with yourself at, you know, the imagination to release, and imagining again, fifth dimension, you know, and the discernment of when to allow yourself to let go, and when to clean the drawer, when to put order to it all, and letting yourself be in that process, that compassion of like being on the journey and allowing yourself to be where you are, and that where you are is the perfect right place. All right, Virgo. Libra. This moon is in this 10th house, 4th house axis for you. The 10th house being where you're attached to some sort of security, false sense of security, false sense of safety, false sense of familiarity that gives you this, you know, idea of security and comfort. And you have structure set up in home and in your emotional seascape, and in your sense of your roots, your self-identity. And the Saturn and Pisces is saying, like, break down these forms and these structures. Forms are thought forms. Forms are the tangible, you know, walls of your house, or the way your bedroom is set up, or the way your office is designed, or the way you have your schedule, or the way you think you have to do things. All of that is form, structure. Is it allowing for your ultimate freedom and expression, Pisces, and ultimate imagination into reality and stepping into that 5D, Pisces? Or is it limiting you and blocking you in this Neptune about higher expansion of consciousness, Pisces? And complete freedom, complete wisdom. Wisdom is moment to moment, moment to moment. Different context, different wisdom applies. And so what are the old forms and structures with your home? And so thinking, you know, the way it has to be, and how people see you in the world. Like, people have to see me this way or I'm not okay. And so therefore you can't change any of your routines, or the way you think about it, or the way you orientate yourself, or your structures and forms. And so then you don't allow yourself this expansion of consciousness. And then, you know, there's depression, and everything just spirals down. You know, when it's difficult, you're not doing what this full moon is offering you to do. That's the way to kind of gauge it and understand. Chiron in the 7th, relationships, you know, that's where there's blockages related to your 10th house, you know, 10th house expansion, your mission, your career, your business, your work, how people see you, your legacy, your reputation, and your relationships, and the wounds around that. And, you know, very much Aries, like, are you assertive? Are you confident? You know, you might think you're being aggressive when you're assertive. You might think you're being arrogant when you're confident, because you've never let yourself swing on the pendulum to find out where assertion actually is. You know, I hope that makes sense. Understand, I've talked about it a lot the last few weeks. I don't want to be too repetitive here. Lilith in your 11th, there can be wounds around like groups, dynamics, your audience building. There could just be anger and upset around like collaborations, about bringing your gifts to the world and feeling abridged, and that wound being there. All right, Libra, let's pull you some cards. What wants to come forward for you? You know, Libra is really associated with a false sense of duty. The goddess comes up really heavily. It's that feminine energy, stepping into the goddess, like being the woman that's empowered, the woman that's flowing, allowing, connected to that Pisces, the imagination, the no boundaries. She's freedom. Freedom is it's like ultimate freedom, flowing, expressing. Nothing is holding that back. You have dance. And this card like keeps coming up in really interesting ways. So it's so funny that this is coming up for you. It's saying dance. What if you can't dance physically? You know, I had a friend that had a foot issue and she couldn't dance. Like literally her foot was having medical issues for a while. So it's like dance with the rest of your body. Get on a scooter, move your body, like get on, you know, there's all kinds of mobiles that you can rent. There are fast cars you can drive, or somebody else could drive. You could take a plane ride. There's so many things to do. Why? Like, don't let yourself be limited. And like, if you don't have money, find the ways to do things for free, you know, and like dance, but dance in your spirit, dance in your energy, dance in your allowance of possibilities and flow and stepping into the 3D. And you got past lives. Past lives are really important. It's time to take a look at them. It's time to understand which ones want to come up. It's related to your ability to flow and let go and what your spirit is really needing right now. And it's related to your ability to stand up in your feminine, empowered woman and to be a goddess in this world that changes the world, that liberates humanity, that, you know, like she's a presence, she's a force. And there's just like this force that's wanting to emanate, and it's related to past lives. There's some blocks and limitations there that are needing release. There's some healing, there's some understanding, there's some wisdom to bring forward. All right, Libra. Scorpio. All right, Scorpio. um, Scorpio, this moon is in this third house. Ninth house axis for you. So it's very much about belief systems and the way you're thinking about everything. So thoughts are our biggest amount of form and structure, because beliefs and thoughts hold us to an ideological way of seeing the world, which limits and narrows, because everything that is not that then is not a possibility for us any longer. So we basically completely dissolve all of the possibilities that are outside of those forms and structures of our mind, of our thought systems, of our belief systems. This Sun, Mercury square Chiron and your 6 is about the tangible reality, day-to-day work, lifestyle, your sense of your service to the world, your sense of like self-improvement, all being stuck in beliefs that are holding you, limiting, that you associate with freedom and secure, not freedom, you associate with safety and security and very familiar. Like, these are my familiar belief systems. This is the way I believe and think, and this keeps me safe. But this is where you're going to stay stuck and stay in the loops. And this moon is saying, hey, you know, we have structures in the way we think, in our mind, and our ideas, and our synthesis of information, how we deal with information. But Saturn, the dispositor in the 5th house, is saying, but I want you to be confident. I want you to be in your heart. I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to stop conflating vulnerable with weakness. I want you to be unto yourself, confident, self-possessed, really just like really merging with the playfulness and the romance of life, standing on stage in the world, in your life, in your empowerment, in your own voice, you know, standing on the stage of your own voice, standing on the stage of your own accomplishment, your gifts. Are you bringing your gifts to the world? You know, and how there might be anger and rage in business, how things didn't work out the way you thought, or you want it all to just come to you and be easy, and you don't want to take the steps and the consistent action, and you think it should just grow so fast or be different, or you're not doing the energetic things behind the scenes, or there might be issues here, or just how people are seeing you. Maybe people are admonishing you or not respecting you, or there's just not that symbiosis and love. You haven't found your ideal client yet, or you haven't found your audience connecting to you yet. There could just be a lot of rage and hurt that needs to be expressed and released, so that then that can shift and you can sink into that power of having a mindset that allows you to expand and have belief systems that allow you to grow. And this Saturn and the fifth is like, I want to dissolve all forms and structures, which is our thoughts and beliefs. It also, along with like other forms of structures, laws and things we adhere to, and dissolve all of that that's limiting me and restricting me, so that I can expand my consciousness, Neptune and Pisces, so that I can be completely free to express myself, to imagine possibilities, to step into the world I want to create. All right, Scorpio, this card wants to come forward. Patience. So let me just tap in. What is this about for Scorpio? This is about patience with your own transformation. And this is about patience with your ego that needs to transform the way it's looking at things. The ego looks at things from the past and makes decisions from the past. Your higher self makes decisions from your present now moment of what's possible, and it sees around corners and it sees around obstacles. And so, you know, if you're making a decision with your higher self or your ego, by if you're sifting through the past and making a decision based on like comfort, safety, what happened in the past, or are you making a decision based on possibility? And having patience for that process with yourself. What else wants to come forward for you, Scorpio? Action. And so taking inspired action, aligned action. You see the light. It's like the action is not coming from ego. It's not coming from I have to, I should. All these manuals that you have in yourself, like this manual for I should be like this, I should exercise at 8 a.m. and then do this at this time and be like this and talk like that and show up like that and dress like this. It's like the light, the inspiration drives the action. And patience with yourself of shedding the 3D old ways, the ego ways, patience with the transformation, patience with your fears, and with, you know, shedding the comfort zones that keep you in this false sense of safety that's not safe. There is no safety. It doesn't exist. It's a false idea that keeps us shrinking and limited. And awareness, and see all the light coming in. You know, there's so much light in these cards where it's like patience is the horse is lit up, and you see the distance between this over here and all that darkness. The horse is the light itself. The patience is nurturance for self, and the light here we talked about, and then the light here coming down of awareness. Awareness is, it's an interesting thing. You know, I got awareness in a different kind of way at some point in time, and I was like, oh, I really understand awareness in a way I'd never understood it before, where it's slow, it's present, it's allowing for whatever the truth of the information that you're getting psychically, other people, yourself, etc., whatever's there and present, to be okay. And it's out of idealization, it's out of the fantasy. And with Neptune ruling this moon, you know, ultimately the final dispositor, it is definitely the possibility of the idealization of what you want or what you think makes you safe and secure, which is a Pisces, which is a Scorpio issue, and being in that fantasy. And, you know, sometimes we're in the fantasy because waking up or choosing the reality or something different is not safe at that moment. Sometimes we're in the fantasy because we're unwilling to be uncomfortable or to take the risk. I mean, there's so many reasons for it. Let me just pull you one more card, Scorpio. Yeah, celebration. So again, possibilities, the celebration to come, the result that you desire. All right, Scorpio. Sag, this moon is in the second house, 8th house axis for you. So security, comfort, familiarization. What feels safe is related to 8th house stuff. So it could be the spiritual world. It could be like just being up in black magic. It could be being just like constantly trying to get information from your guides, or being in the spiritual realms, or being in and not being in the tangible reality. It could be like using other people's resources, or wanting to be like so merged with other people. It's kind of like where like the partner is like, you're going to go to bed and the partner doesn't want to go to bed with you. And so you're like, okay, well, I'll just stay up with you until you go to bed. And it's like, fuck, man, can you be apart for 2 hours? It's like, what is this fucking need for being so merged with somebody because you're not secure in your own? This eighth house is the transmutation, the breaking down completely, that the spirit never breaks down. The intention, the ultimate truth of what's there never breaks down, but the form completely changes. There's a metamorphosis. And so the caterpillar is a completely different creature, the death and rebirth. And so the unwillingness to change, and that is what could be making other people's money, unwilling to leave the partner that sucks because they have the money, and you just are unwilling to think that, to take the risk to like trust that the stone will be there for your next step to come. It might not be the way you want it to be. Maybe you have to downsize. I had a friend who like didn't want to leave the partner that was abusive in the house, and didn't want to have to like just like live in a different kind of situation for a little while that maybe wasn't like her ideal rich vibe, but to be free. So she's putting herself in a cage, and therefore caging her soul, caging her expression, all for something that never gave her happiness or anything, and she eventually left, but it's like, how many years did she waste? And so this moon is about all your structures in your second house, related to money, security, related to survival, Maslow's hierarchy of needs issues, related to your sense of your own gifts and talents and resourcefulness. So all the structures that you think are your gifts, talents, are your money, your ability to survive and be okay, Saturn is asking you to see where you have false structures, see where you're limited and restricting yourself with your structures and forms, being your ideas. Forms are ideas, forms are belief systems, forms are values. Like we value having, you value having a certain kind of car. So you never, have like sell the car to have like 20 extra K in your bank account to grow your business, so that can actually provide hundreds of thousands of dollars for you later, and have like a $20,000 car for a year or two while you like use that. You know what I'm saying? It's like you might value this, this appearance so much that you restrict yourself from ever growing. So you just like have the appearance of this life, but really you're never changing and growing and evolving, and you're not doing your purpose and your mission. And it's just an example, but you get the example, and how like we limit ourselves so much in all these ways that we don't even realize, because of outer opinion, etc. And so just fourth house is family. So how family sees you, what you think is your roots and your foundation, your self-image, fourth house. So maybe you're not willing to have your self-image appear differently, or having people like question it or not know what to think of you. Like, who cares about any of that? It's only matters of what your self-image is to yourself, but that might be keeping you limited and restricted, and like really from creating possibilities and your imagination into reality, Pisces. So this ultimate expansion of your consciousness, fourth house, of like having a self-identity that's expansive into the world. That's this amazing example that lifts other people up, and little girls look up to you and realize all their potential and possibilities, and don't limit themselves because you were willing to shed a self-identity that wasn't ever true or authentic anyways, but just made you feel falsely secure. So just some ideas of how to look at that, Sag. And then these cards want to come up for you: intention, and just such massive wings on this unicorn with this card of intention and the light around it. And then you got beloved, And so what is that beloved, that connection to the beloved, the higher love, divine love, to your higher self, to a purpose and a mission and a passion and a drive within you, an imagination to create that into reality in the world that helps liberate humanity and free other women, and to serve humanity in some way that helps us to move into the fifth dimension. You know, this beloved, this, just even if it's just that connection to your passion and this fervor, this burning, this fire of commitment to your business, to what you love, what lifts you up, inspires you, what feeds your light. And then you got magic. What a great reading, Sag. I mean, it's just like this intention to like this commitment, like the beloved is like this commitment energy, this determination, this passion, and the magic in that, you know, the magic of being connected to the beloved. And what is that for you? You know, it could be a significant other, partners, or, you know, it could be that connection to yourself, your inner child, all parts of your feminine, like the beloved and the higher, you know, the higher love, the divine love, all of that merged together in this like commitment to this higher, important, amazing thing, and this intention to create magic, make magic, believe in the possibility, create it into reality. There's so many ways to really read that magic card is also just wanting you to realize that your intentions are magical and are creating. And so don't be cavalier with your intentions, be conscious with them, and really understand the magic that they are. You know, it's like you can go to a river and see all these pebbles, and it can feel like this sacred space and sacred experience, or you can just go to this river and like kick the rocks and, you know, throw some beer cans on the ground. You know, it's that kind of thing. All right, Sag. Capricorn, it's the first house, seventh house axis for you, this full moon. And so that seventh house, relationships, fighting for justice, that, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. It's pointless. But that can be what your security, sense of familiarity, same old patterns, like fighting these injustices. These people yelled at me. These people put me down. Like they don't like me, or they're saying bad things about me. They're talking about me. All these stories, and whatever it is, it's like that could be your sense of security and safety and comfort and familiarity. And so it's keeping you from really allowing for those structures within your own self-identity to dissolve and be broken down. You know, this full moon is a first house full moon about your identity, your character, your ego, your personality structure that houses the soul, that it goes out into the world and lives this earthly incarnation to you, that faces the world, that is the house for your soul, navigating the earthly terrain. And out here, it's like the one out here fighting and doing all the stuff, you know, and going through all of it. And we need to love and nurture our ego and personality, but also not be limited and restricted and bound to it. And it's really the relationships, all the injustices, how people see you, you know, how you handle threat, is all the things that are limiting you from letting Saturn break that down, dissolve it, because it's holding you back, it limiting you, restricting you, not allowing you to be in that imagination, that fifth dimension, that expression possibility, and be in the higher dimensions and higher realms. Saturn, you know, retrograde is individuation, breaking free from all these structures and ways that we've limited ourselves. Pisces, you know, not allowing for that higher consciousness, Neptune and Pisces. And this is third house. So it's all about your mentality. All of these limitations and restrictions are all about the way you see things, how you orientate your view of life, your view of everything, your view of relationships, your view of your business, your view of your stance in the world, how people see you, how you know, how people's opinions of you, people's judgments, admonitions, all of that, but in your head, when it's not like something you've actually heard literally, but it's all just in your head, and you're letting all those stories run. You know, this is all mind management stuff. You know, it's like, you know, my guides are just like, just screaming at me right now to tell you, like, you have to manage your mind, Capricorn, or you're going to be done in and limited and blocked and in the same old fucking cycles and that depression and not moving forward. And it's really coming from home, family, roots, identity, self-identity, like how you see yourself and like what makes you feel like you're rooted and anchored. And it's all the way you think. And if you can break down and bust down the walls and ceiling and floors of the way you think in your mind and let that all go and be open to possibility and be open to what can transpire in this moment, what can be wisdom in this moment, what's wisdom in this moment, what's wisdom in this moment, you know, like take some fucking LSD. I mean, just like you got to break down all the structures and forms, but in your mind, it's really like these thought forms are doing you in, and beware of viral thought forms from the culture, from society, from your family, you know. And I'm not giving out medical advice here. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, how can you do that metaphorically? How can you let go of being so committed, attached to these ways of seeing the world that are holding you down and holding you back? And this Lilith in the 8th house is like spiritual abuse, emotional manipulation, abandonment, and, you know, childhood wounds, subconscious stuff. You know, it's what is where the anger is, it's where the hurt is, and that's, you know, what really needs to be released. Sacred rage practice to release that, you know. There are a lot of hallucinogenic coaches out there, you know, guiding those experiences too, and like in nurturing or appropriate or legal settings. So I mean, that might be a real possibility of rebirth, you know. I mean, this is like so makes sense, because if you just have a completely different view of everything, what a rebirth that is, what a freedom, what a letting go of all these old ways of seeing yourself in the world and everything that wasn't even true, it wasn't even authentic to you. So there's such a possibility for rebirth here. What else wants to come forward? Growth. So much growth. So I mean, this is so clear. The rebirth, though, before the rebirth comes the death, and that might feel insecure, that might feel uncomfortable, that might feel scary, that might feel like you're literally dying. And realize that that death of the spirit, the intention, the seed, the light never dies, but it's completely a new creature on the other side of that. And that is growth and expansion. And that's what growth takes, is that death and rebirth cycle. And miracles, like, allow for the miracles and the magic to come. Like, if you let that death and rebirth happen, there's going to be growth and evolution, expansion, and miracles can finally come through, and allow for the miracles to also help with the process. And realize that growth is what life is all about. I mean, it's not about anything else. You know, there's nothing more true than growth, which is change. You know, change is constant. So, all right, Cap. If you'd like to book a pick your price astrology reading, you can do that at thegoddessastrologer.com. Only for a limited time, y'all. It'll take you to the payment page, pick your price, and then it'll take you to the scheduling page. And I'll see you live on a Zoom, and it has a form to fill out with all of your questions and so forth. So see you there. All right, Aquarius, this moon is happening for you in that 12th house, 6th house axis, the healing axis, the, you know, invisible with the visible world access. You know, this moon is in the 12th house, saying the dimensions for you, you know, and saying that you're thinking, and thinking is key word with Aquarius, that all of your security, your sense of security, your sense of safety, your sense of comfort, familiarity, the old, well-worn pathways, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, you know, 6th house, in your lifestyle, in your day-to-day routines, in your schedule, in like you're like judging of yourself, wanting to improve the way you serve humanity, the way you think about all of that. It's, you know, there's wanting to be restructured. Saturn retrograde in Pisces in the 2nd house, around money, survival, around you know, self-sufficiency, around how you deem yourself, your own resources of your own talents, gifts, skills, abilities, to provide Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to provide a space to have the spring birth forth, the blooms in the trees, the flowers, the what makes life worthy of living, the fecundity. Like, I used to always think this word was pronounced fecund, and I like that better. It's prettier. Fecund, that's not pretty. But anyways, I guess the word is fecund. I don't know how to pronounce fecundity. I thought it was fecundity. So fecundity. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, you're an Aquarius. Google that shit and let me know. So it's like breaking down everything that's limiting you, restricting you, and blocking you, which is all second house issues, fear of not surviving, being in survival, being in fight or flight, being in dysregulated nervous system, and not like doing the somatic nervous system regulation that it takes to get out of PTSD, to get out of having been in a cult, having been in a dysfunctional relationship, a narcissistic abusive relationship, having been in a fucked up childhood situation, having been in past life after past lives of killed, captured, tortured, just not great, homeless, whatever it was. And it's like breaking down these old structures, which means you have to let the ceilings and the walls and the floors go so that you can find where you've been restricted and limited, which for you, it's like all about second house stuff, but also sixth house stuff, tangible reality. Thinking tangible reality is so important when it's the invisible reality that makes tangible reality exist at all. Like, this is all an illusion. This doesn't exist without the invisible. And this moon for you is wanting to birth new structures and forms, you know, from imagination, from peace, from what's worthy inside of you, from your talents and skills, from knowing you're resourceful. You will always be okay if you just trust that the stepping stone will be there when you need it, at the time you need it. It might not look the way your ego wants it to look, and that's where it can be difficult. But also, don't stop seeking the answers or being willing to try, experiment, which is an Aquarius thing. And so letting the dimensions inform you, dealing with past life stuff that you need to break down and heal, and some completion, some endings maybe happening with this cycle. And also allowing your psychic energies, your imagination, to feed you, to lift you up, and to inform you, allowing your higher self to lead the show, Aquarius, because there's that impetus with Aquarius to be so cerebral and forgetting about the rest of it, courage. So big deal to let the walls and the floors and the ceilings disappear so you can have that metamorphosis into a new form, always the soul being there, the light never changing. It takes that courage and strength, intuition. What did I say? Let intuition lead the show. Let intuition be more primary than the rational, logical mind. Intuition is not logical. Follow your higher self. I gave an exercise for that in part 1. I really encourage you to check it. Discernment. So it's really asking you to be in that 6th house, 12th house axis. It's really fascinating. You get discernment and intuition. It's come up, before. To have the courage to have the discernment and say no. To have the discernment, this isn't for me. I don't want to go out with the friends. I want to go to bed early, or I don't like these people, or they're dark. Trusting your intuition that's telling you the right thing, and then having the discernment to have the courage to say no, and then the courage to trust your intuition and believe in it and let it lead you and guide you. And that's why I gave that exercise to do it in low risk exercises, where you start to really let your ego form a bond with your higher self, to trust it to take over and lead the show, and let your soul start taking over and leading the show. And so it's also asking you to have discernment with your intuition, have intuition with your discernment, and don't think your discernment always has the understanding and the courage to walk that path and not get it right, and be figuring it out and be on the journey and be wrong and fail, this false idea, and letting yourself be where you are and be in the journey, and knowing that where you are right now is a perfect right place, and it's an okay place. All right, Aquarius, if you'd like to book a reading with me, you can do that at thegoddessastrologer.com. The pick your price reading, you'll go and pay and pick your own price, and then it'll take you to the scheduling page where you'll pick your day and time, and it has a form where you can put in all of your questions, and I'll see you live on a Zoom call and we'll dig into your chart. All right, Aquarius, take good care. Pisces, this moon for you is in your 11th house, 5th house axis. And this moon is in the 5th house. Like, where are you standing on stage? What are the structures that are no longer helping you, that maybe they helped you to stand on stage in your life, to bring your gifts to the world, to be confident, to be in your heart and the vulnerability that that takes, and to express, to be fun, to be in the romance of life, to try a new romance, to have kids, have relationships with your kids. You know, the 5th house is around kids, but it's creative self-actualization, to creatively self-actualize. What structures and forms, you know, did you need to do that at one time, but now are conflated with safety, security, and comfort, and they are not. They are holding you back. They are limiting you. Where is there a false sense of ego or no pride at all? You know, being like, no, I don't have pride. Like, oh, I didn't do it. Like, so, not being able to take a compliment, not being able to own your confidence, not being able to stand on stage, not being able to speak and orate and perform and be confident and believe in yourself and be out in the world, makes you think like, oh, you're safe, you're secure, when you're really not, you know. And it's like, what are the forms and structures, like with friendships and other people, that you thought, you know, is great and supporting you and helping you, but really it's now a limitation and a restriction? And how can you let that go? You know, it's in your audience, in your collaborations, and you're bringing your gifts to the world. It's in your sense of sacred activism, what you thought it was all about. There is Saturn there saying, we're going to restructure, we're going to revise, these forms don't work for us anymore. And it could just be your beliefs about it all. And so how can you break down the way you are believing about building your audience and your business, about the gifts that you bring to the world, about how you're supposed to appear, be, stand on stage? You know, I usually do these videos a certain way, and tonight I didn't do certain things. And I was just like letting it be Pisces flow, letting it be restructured without me doing the structure. Pisces, like letting the magic happen. Pisces, letting the miracles unfold, letting it all be. And it ended up just flowing into this much more beautiful way. And it was so much better for me in certain ways that I just didn't even expect or know. And it's such a great example of like, this is a time of reviewing and revising and letting go of forms, letting forms dissolve, forms being your thoughts, forms being the lines you use to color in between, forms being the literal walls of your house, where you live, the path you drive to the store, how you think you have to do things, all of those things. It's asking you to let that go. Even how you be a Pisces, like maybe your Pisces way is just to be free and floaty and whatever, and that was your form and structure, but maybe you actually need to get some greater form and structure. Maybe you need to have some schedule and routine. Maybe you need to get a little bit of organization and some discernment. You know, maybe it's too much escapism and too much painting and drawing and not enough like schedules and meetings and emails. You know, you have to look into your own life and see how it applies. But there's this wanting to expand, and it's all first house for you. You know, the dispositors of this full moon are all in the first house, which is saying that it's all about how you're seeing the world, your ego personality structure. Your ego personality structure is wanting new life, new forms and structure. It wants to be based off something different that allows you the freedom of expression, to completely metamorphose, to completely be free, to let the imagination completely recreate something new. And it's almost like, can you let your Pisces work for you with this few weeks here and what this wants to grow into in the future, of like, you know, the way you saw your personality, yourself, your ego, how you like deal with threat, all of it, let it be completely dissolved and something new birth that you don't have to create yourself, but you can rather allow to be birthed and born. And, allow friends and your connections, your collaborations, don't hold on so tight. Allow them to be more free flowing. Don't expect so much. Don't wish it was like a certain way. Don't put restrictions or handbooks on it all. Just be in the wonderment. Like, I wonder how it's meant to go, what this relationship is meant to be. Like, what does this relationship want to be? What does this person want to be in my life? Like, what would be cool to be with them? Like, can you be in the possibility? And that I wonder how it can go, instead of why is it going this way? Or I wish it would go this way. That Pisces longing, wishing, hoping, that Pisces yearning, that's like maddening. Like, let go of that and just be like, I wonder what wants to be birthed, what wants to come in, what wants to be a miracle in my life, what new form wants to congeal that is free from limitation and restrictions. The wound for you is in that second house of money, survival issues, Chiron, like standing in your truth and your authenticity and your assertion, like not letting people get over on you to survive, to have money, to be okay, like not letting the landlord, be a dick because you're afraid you're going to get kicked out because you're afraid of survival issues. And it's like, no, standing up in your power, standing up, like believing that the next stone is going to be there for your next footfall, that the stepping stone will be there as you take the next step, that what you need in life will be. It's like this trust. And I don't like trust and faith and hope and all this shit. Like, the way I look at trust and the way I'm saying it is like believing in possibilities and that 5D stance and being able to step over into that 5D in this now moment of what's possible. And the Pisces imagination, open-ended, like possibility land, wonder, versus it must look like this, that Taurus Chiron, in that Taurus house of fixed earth, second house of like, it must look like this or it's not safe and comfortable. And that moon in that fifth house of like, I can only be on stage in life if everything is set up just perfect. There's air conditioning and the water's on the stool. And it's like, if you're a comedian, what if they're out of water? What if they got coconut water? Or what if you have to have a chair instead of a stool? Or, what else about the fifth house of like, maybe it's like your children or your creations or your creative self-actualization is like what makes you feel safe, but maybe you need to branch out in the meeting of people, networking, building relationships, and really be formless and structureless with it to allow for a new form and structure to show itself to you. That Lilith in the sixth house of like lifestyle, lots of wounds, anger, repression, sadness there to move through, and opposite Pluto, and it's that sixth house of like self-improvement, being the ultimate of what you want to be, so you can serve humanity and lifestyle and your health. And so there can just be a lot of anger and not being quite what you desire to be. I'm gonna shuffle for you, Pisces, and pull some cards for you. If you'd like to book a pick your price astrology reading, you can do that at thegoddessastrologer.com. Go click the banner at the top of the page, pay what you'd like, and then it'll take you to the scheduling page where you can put in your questions, you can put in the information you'd like to know, and then you'll be live with me on video and we'll go deep into your chart. You got rebirth and you got dance, and this card just keeps coming up so much lately. And there's something about dance that is like literal moving the body, to move the energy, to get you into a higher frequency. That dancing is how many indigenous tribes, the drumming, the dancing, journeying, shamanic journeying, they knew how to connect to the higher 5D frequencies, to the higher frequencies. Like, we know how to do this, but so many of us are stuck in this 3D, money, business, trying to do the things and schedules and kids and parenting. And it's like, it's saying, let yourself have the freedom of the indigenous way of life. Make the $1 million indigenously, raise your kids indigenously, live your life, pay your bills, do the car, do it indigenous, where it's the freedom, it's the flow, it's the listening to the intuition, listening to where to go when at these times, not in like the scheduled way, which is very Pisces. It's like, let go of like this way I think I'm supposed to do it to be right or good or holy. And there's this rebirth coming with this. When you can let your frequency raise, there's this rebirth coming. And what is the issue to doing the dancing, drumming, shamanic journeying, painting, naked painting, like getting into your body? There's some sort of block here, and that needs to be busted through, because that death and rebirth will launch you, Pisces. What else wants to come forward? There's this passion that's missing that will only be on the other side of this death and rebirth, that comes from you getting into that high frequency, which means, try out some things. That whole like laugh therapy thing where you just like make yourself laugh, and then you're laughing at yourself for how silly you feel about trying to laugh when it wasn't like a authentic laugh. Or watch some comedy on TikTok, or pull out Ghostbusters or an old movie and watch that. Like, what can get you back into some sort of like embodiment of flow of life, of trust in the good, of belief in magic and miracles again, of sinking into the dimensions in this beautiful way of higher frequency. The word's just like not quite coming to me. It's an impression there. Did you get it? And then polarity comes up. So again, that Pisces, like holding two disparate things. Like, you'll see the wounds, you'll see the 3D, but can you not get so caught up in it? Don't repress it or deny it being there. Be aware of it without that repression or denial, while stepping into that 5D, higher frequency, whatever can pull you in that. Chanting Bhajans, Vedic chanting, go to a Vedic chanting class, do weird novel things, take some weird class, a trapeze class, or I don't know, man, meetups, try something weird and new, get upside down, like just do something that can shake you up out of the old fears, angers, complaints, stagnated places, the bog, the swamp of all those old places. So if you'd like to get a reading with me, go to thegoddessastrologer.com. I hope this was amazing for you all. I hope this was impactful, powerful astrology coming. Look for alchemical initiations coming on a new episode on Thursday. The Light Goddess podcast, link below. New episodes every Thursday. Sending you so much love. I'll see y'all next time.